Dear Mr. President, dear friends, thank you very much for coming to our annual YES conference. I'm really sorry, but this year we decided that we cannot show for you more optimistic video for our opening because we're really in the middle of global storms. And I want to make it very simple. We have only two solutions. After this storm, we'll have either global chaos or better new order. And we want to stimulate you. We want to motivate you to work hard for more optimistic scenario. Really, we're in the middle of storms. Some people on the West, very understandably, they want to concentrate their efforts on solving their global crises, and they want to delete Ukraine from this short list of global crises. This is wrong. Ukraine, this is not a local conflict. This is global, fundamental crisis. And Ukraine has to be, if not on the first position on the top list of crises, but at least in the center of this short list. Almost for 15 years, YES has worked to put Ukraine on the global agenda. And now this is more important than ever before. And this is our joint responsibility to achieve this goal. Ukraine has to be on the global agenda, on the global screen. As you know, one of our tradition to use contemporary art to make message of our conference even stronger. This is great painting of one of the greatest artists of our days, Anselm Kiefer from Germany. Somebody thinks this is Black Sea and maybe Ukrainian Black Sea Fleet because of the conditions of this ship, but I want to tell you, great art has different interpretation. This is, from my point of view, this is global ocean, global storm, and this is Western civilization in this not perfect condition during perfect storm. And this is just in our hands. We will overcome this global storm successfully or not. But we have the chance to overcome this successfully only if we will be together. One more tradition of our conference, to invite the best students from all best universities from all Ukraine to participate in this conference. And hundreds of young best Ukrainian students, they are together with us in the next rooms. But for first time, we invited the best young regional leaders, mayors of small towns, villages from all over Ukraine, from Eastern Ukraine, Western Ukraine, and they are also together with us. Yesterday I spoke with these people. They are brilliant. They are very motivated. They told me that we want to listen, we want to learn. And because we are so deep in our communities, we will deliver to our people what we will listen here, what we will hear here, what we will learn here. And dear friends, believe me, from next week, all Ukrainians will know what's going on in Washington, in Brussels, in London, in Florida, in Ohio, and in Kyiv. And the fact that they are here, it's a source for great hope, but also reason to feel great responsibility. Dear friends, we have great honor to have with us our head of state. For many years, President Poroshenko, in his different incarnation, was together with us as businessman, as one of the leaders of civil society, and for third time as our president. This is a great honor for us. Also, I want to say that this year we have great team, dream team of moderators. Stephen Sacker from BBC, and we already learned what does it mean hard talk with him. Tonight, one of the greatest American journalists, Farid Zakaria from CNN, will join us, and tomorrow he will moderate some panels about Ukraine and Russia. And Richard Haass, one of the best in the world specialists about foreign affairs, president of Council of Foreign Relations. He is together with us. He is already second time with us. Richard, welcome back, and you have great honor to moderate our most important panel with our head of state. Dear friend, thank you very much for your attention. I wish you 2 interesting, productive days. Mr. President, floor is yours.
Your Excellencies, dear friends, I'm really happy to see you again on the 13th Yalta conference. Dear ladies and gentlemen, that's a real great pleasure for me to open this year the 13th Yalta European Strategy meeting. Last year we discussed in this hall how the new Ukraine fate affect Europe and affect the world. I assume that many of those who were present, as well as the considerable number of the Western politicians and journalists, could hardly imagine how the world would like just in 1 year time since last conference. Burning conflict in the Middle East, large-scale Russian military exercise on the eastern NATO border, and continuation of the Russian aggression on the east of my country, on the Donbass, threatening the waves of migrants, escalation the terrorism, blossom of populism and ultra-right extremism, large-scale targeted propaganda have become a characteristic of features of today. Democratic world is losing control over its own values. Russian propaganda does not only use weak spot of the West, it has sated that the West with its paranoid idea. It transformed the marginal stream into the mainstream. Russia tries to get into the head of the Western civilization. Euroscepticism, anti-Americanism, isolationism are destroying the current coordinate system of the Western civilization. Such concept as zone of influence is back again. And we should recognize that hundreds of millions of dollars are flowing to the West to support national egoism and interrogations fatigue, hatred, and intolerance. And I can say that I personally acquainted myself with the solid work of the Kremlin strategists concerning the realization of the next exit, bringing it to power to the new political project aimed to change pro-European political elites, undermine Western values, and ruin the unity of the European Union and transatlantic alliance. The result, a chance to build an alternative Europe, has turned up. Europe, which will build on egoism and populism and cynicism. with the election in the key European capitals, appearance of the entirely new Europe is really possible. And next month will become the true moment for the truth of the West. And already today, we need to prepare to these potential realities. That's why I can imagine Victor will start with such a negative prognosis. That's why he demonstrated us this picture. Believe me, I do not accept this future. It is simply impossible to be the president of the country in the state of war and not to be an optimist. You cannot win the battle. You cannot lead the people. And I wish that all the European leaders will remain optimists and work hard to defend the Europe. We're talking now not about defense of Ukraine, we're talking about defense of our common Europe. This is very simple. And we can win this battle only when we will be together. When I meet European leaders and ask, what are you looking from us? No money. This is not the first urgent need. No weapons. No advisors. We need your unity and solidarity with Ukraine. And really, it is a high time to understand that there is no more zone of comfort, where one could hide from the modern shocks and challenges in today's globalized world. Its zone of comfort simply not exist. When one state attempts with impunity to appropriate part of the sovereign territory of another state, this has to be a challenge, a threat for all the other European states and for the whole global civilization. This is very simple. Otherwise, no one can guarantee that tomorrow someone does not try to do the same against every of you. Dear colleagues, 2.5 years we fight against Russian aggression, and the name of it is very simple. This is not a civil war. This is not a conflict in Ukraine. This is not anything else. This is just an aggression of the Russian Federation against sovereign and independent, free and democratic Ukraine. And we should use only that word. And from the perspectives of the past path, what we managed to succeed seem more evident. And the key achievement is stopping the war from the deeper penetrating to our Ukrainian territory. Again, the international solidarity provided by Ukrainian diplomacy protect us today from this deadly threat. And on the battlefield, we are nobly defended by the Ukrainian army that we are managed to restore literally on the march. Victor, this is not the state of Ukrainian army. The state of Ukrainian army, many Ukrainian our foreign partners see on the military parade we demonstrated on the 25th anniversary of Ukrainian independence. This is the new army we create just for the 2 years. And our new army is not the new tank, new artillery system, not new multi-rocket launch system. Our new army is a new Ukrainian soldier, very motivated, very patriotic, very professional, very young. Most of them was born after our independence and not infected by our Soviet past. They know what for they are fighting. They love their country and they love their people. Some of them speak in Russian. I give you the figures. Most of them speak in Russian. But with the weapons in the hands, they defend our sovereignty, our freedom, and our democracy. No, sorry. This is not true. Not our Ukrainian, but our European. And this is the battlefield. And again, it is efficient and resolute, chilled in the battles in the Donbass and Lugansk. But the most important, our diplomatic is experienced, our army is experienced, and this is invaluable experience might become an object to envy far beyond Ukraine. Moreover, some already learned from it. It is a good that we have this experience, but it is a painful that we learn it in the war which we are not invited. We were one of the most peaceful countries on the post-Soviet space. If you ask me in the year 2013, that was very simple. We were the most peaceful. I cannot imagine that it can happen in Ukraine, neither in Crimea, despite the Tuzla incident in the year 2003, because that was not provoked by us. We don't have a reason for the conflict. But the enemy came to our soil without invitation. And by the way, I am often blamed. They say that the Ukrainian side continue to resist, not to move forward on the political track on the Minsk process. I repeat, once and forever, we have already turned the other cheek, turned so that hardly stayed alive. No more step further until the Russian side does not go its own distance on the security track. It is in the security sphere where the key to peaceful settlement in Donbass hides today. And that is why I have suggested an effective approach. Very simple. A roadmap containing the sequence of the interlinked steps on the political and security track with a very important factor, guarantee on their implementation. What does it mean, guarantee? We know very good from the Budapest Memorandum. Not more. And our requirements are very simple. Russia has to provide sustainable and comprehensive ceasefire in Donbass. What does it mean, Russian ceasefire, which was declared with our partners and friends, ministers of foreign affairs of French and Germany? We see during the last 24 hours where we were promised the ceasefire. And we have more than 30 shelling, including artillery and mortar shelling, this night. Second, Russia should stop supplying its regular army, heavy weapons, artillery, tank, ammunition, military equipment to Ukrainian territory. Third, provide full access of the special monitoring mission of the OSCE to the whole occupied territory of the Donbass and Crimea. This is the mandate of the OSCE. And by the way, provide the full access of the international observers to the temporary uncontrolled part of Ukrainian-Russian border. And if you ask me what is the key factor of our security in figures, I can give you the answer. This is 409 kilometers and 300 meters of the uncontrolled part of Ukrainian-Russian border. If we close the border, no conflict in Ukraine. If they take off all the occupational troops, take out the weapons, we settle everything. That's why the next factor, exactly as they mentioned in the Minsk agreement, withdraw Russian troops from the territory of Ukraine. Fifth, release Ukrainian hostages and political prisoners. political prisoners which now in a Russian prison, including Sentsov, Kolchenko, Karpyuk, Klich, Zhemchugov, and dozen others. And by the way, I can give a little bit of optimism that tomorrow we have a strong hope to bring back to his home Zhemchugov. And this is what the Russian side continues to oppose, trying to prove that Ukraine allegedly does not implement the political part of the Minsk. Again, this is not true. Contrary to Kreml, Ukraine implements our commitment. Just absolutely contract track. I explained to you about the security track, which is directly mentioned in the Minsk agreement that should be implemented the first. And political track, Ukrainian side first adopted the law on the special order on the local self-government in a certain area of Donetsk and Lugansk region. It's already happened, and I thank the Ukrainian parliament. Second, passed the law on amnesty. Third, adopted the legislative act which enlists area that fall within the notion certain area of Donetsk and Lugansk region. We adopted the amendments of the Constitution of Ukraine on decentralization in the first reading. And fifth, work out with our international partners, including our partners on the Normandy format, ODIHR, Venice Commission, Council of Europe, the modality of the local election in the Donbass, which should happen after the implementation of the security condition. Not just a ceasefire, but exactly what I mentioned. And saying, in other words, the Ukrainian side demonstrated the goodwill, responsibility, and make absolutely clear steps aimed to the peaceful settlement. And what does Russia do in response? The answer is very simple. Zero. Absolutely nothing. And in addition, it tried to shift the blame on somebody else. Therefore, we will not be driving into the trap of political trap priority of the Minsk agreement. We will not. And all this is nothing else but the tactics of the political manipulation at the table of negotiation and controlled aggression on the battlefield when needed. Repeatedly demonstrated by Russia now. And by the way, Russia demonstrated it not only in Ukraine. You see Middle East, you see other regions. Beforehand, you see Transnistria, Abkhazia, Ossetia, and many other reasons. Could you find any happy person who would be among the simple people, who would be happy in Transnistria, in Ossetia, or in Donetsk? And my message is, we should work hard to bring back Ukrainian sovereignty, Ukrainian flag, back to the Crimea, and back to Lugansk, and back to Donetsk. And dear ladies and gentlemen, we have no right to forget about the Crimea, which I mentioned. Having a temporary occupied Crimea, Russia is turning this Ukrainian peninsula into the military stronghold by changing voluntarily strategic balance in the Black and Mediterranean seas for its own benefits. And for those who believe in the international law, human rights, and common European values, Crimea is emerging into a real concentration camp crafted in line with the best Soviet standard of repression and punitive medicine. An example of the Ilmi Umerov, which was forcibly placed in the psychiatric clinic, is a very well demonstration of that. Incident with him vividly demonstrate a criminal and cynical sense of the Kremlin policy toward the pro-Ukrainian activists in the occupied Crimea. It is also obvious that the occupying power cannot and is not able to secure appropriate social and economic life conditions in Crimea. That is what explains that they are saying there is, like Medvedev said, there is no more money, but you hang in there. Or why they are looking for the elusive commanders from Ukraine, which happened in the beginning of August, but don't find anybody. Russia's strategy is understandable, to force the West and the world to recognize Moscow's sovereignty over Crimea. And we are even told that the Crimean issue is over and done. From the perspective of the international law, actually it has never been opened. Crimea is Ukraine by right. And on the other hand, the issue of bringing the perpetrator on the international law to justice is still pending. Unfortunately, Kremlin keeps denying its crime. That is why we have to preserve our unity, as well as to activate all the possible international mechanisms to deoccupy the Crimea. The UN General Assembly, which has got started these days in New York, has also to say its word in this regard. And we in Ukraine count on the international support for the new Ukrainian initiative on the adoption of the UN General Assembly resolution on the human rights violation in Crimea that is a part of our general deoccupation policy. And we count on your support in New York. Its key purpose is to ensure that the price of the temporary occupied would rise, so as they keep illegally usurped in the hands, in reality cynically stolen, would be for the aggressor so unbearably painful as to hold Donbass inflamed coal. And I have already told, and I would like to state it here once again, it might be time to respond to Russia's impudence on the occupied terrorists, including towards the Crimean Tatar. This demands the introduction of the additional sectoral sanction. Because without sanction, we have nothing to talk about. We're not waiting the NATO soldiers. We're even defending ourselves with our own weapons. But the solidarity means sanction, because this is the only mechanism to keep Putin at the table of negotiation. And we count on that. Because when we're talking about the sanction, we're not talking about just the Minsk agreement. If sanction would be softening or lifting, does the Russia go on from Ukraine? From Donbass or from Crimea? Does they withdraw their troops? Does they release the political prisoners? Does they cooperate with the OSCE? Does Russia do anything to explain your own people why we're lifting the sanction? Believe me, no explanation. And again, this is the step for our future, European future, not the step for Ukraine. And in view of this, an updated version of the Jackson-Vanik amendments would not be amiss. I was the person who asked in the American Congress to leave the Jackson-Vanik amendments against Ukraine. Now it's a high time to introduce it against Russia. In fact, suffering of the Ukrainian citizen have stopped long ago to be a responsibility of the certain individuals. This is a systemic problem of the regime created by Kremlin in Russia. And that is why not only the certain individuals have to bear responsibility for the committed crimes, but also the regime as a whole. Moscow has to realize that the price of such violation will only increase. Relevant expert consultation with our partners are already underway. And another reason to lighten the sanction pressure on Russia should become the conduct of so-called Russian parliamentary election, which happening on the territory of Ukrainian Crimea. Ukraine's position is clear. We do not recognize the legitimacy of the Russian election on the occupied territory. And those who will elect it in Russia State Duma from Crimea stand in the election of prepare this charade are buying the member card in a sanction club. Welcome to the sanction club, gentlemen and ladies. And by the way, I would like to thank the United States for its leadership in the strengthening of the sanction of the aggressor, and I believe that the American sanction against Gazprom-affiliated companies and contracting companies involved in the construction of so-called Putin Bridge to Crimea will become a wake-up call for the aggressor. When meeting my foreign partners, I am frequently asked, again, I want to repeat it, what else the world may do to help Ukraine? This is the question from our partners. First of all, wake up finally and look at the objective reality around us. I insist, again, this is not only against Ukraine, but against the West, and that a real wide-scale war is ongoing. Its name, a hybrid war. This hybrid war is not about Ukraine. This hybrid war about all of us. And we have no right any longer to pretend that nothing is going on. What I see around reminds me a famous piece by a French playwright, Eugène Ionesco. Hybrid rhinoceros are on our streets already, and they are dispassionately ruin everything on their way. Values, principles, democracy. Yet we keep debating about where they came from and are they good or bad. It is really that bad being a rhinoceros. We do so instead of getting united and resolutely stating that they are not welcome here or any other place, and we will not allow turn us into the rhinoceros. Every day you may witness how Russian hybrid tactics to rip up ourselves in the peace and believe that this threat will pass our age. Do not have any doubts, as already tomorrow those tentacles will reach you. And do not ask of whom the bell tolls. It tolls on all of us. Thus, second of all, we have to preserve our unity and jointly give to rebuff the aggressor. Again, the sanctions remain being an effective tool to contain an aggression and to keep Russian side on our joint global negotiation table. And I welcome yesterday's decision of the European Union Council. Thank you very much indeed for that, to prolong individual sanction for violation of the territorial integrity of Ukraine for yet another term. We have to stay of solidarity with each other and work on unison so that not to give the aggressor a tiny chance to disunite the ranks. And we have get the read our defense, and for example, the European Union might adjust the timetable of reviewing its sanction regime with Russia and switch from the semi-annual to the annual cycle. Frequently return to this debate costs too much both to the European Union, as it provides Russia with the chance to shake its unity, and to Ukraine, as every time we live through the season of escalation of the conflict, losing dozens, or even not the dozens, hundreds of human lives. And I hear the European business complaining about the allegedly enormous losses because of the sanction against Russia. Yet in reality, those are not losses, but this is the investment in your own security in Europe and in the world. Just think it over. The most of all extra profit from oil, gas, or commerce with the countries of the West, with Russia, Russia used not for the modernization of the Russian economy or to rising up the Russian social standards. Russia used it for corruption, for the large-scale modernization of the army, which threatened to Ukraine and to the Europe, to us and to our and your security. And we should not allow for the euro or dollar gained out of the commerce with the West to return back to us from Russia in a kind of the bullet or missile. Let's think it from this point of view. An international legal mechanism of countering the aggressor are also pending for being used fully. And we have already initiated a number of legal suits against Russia for the violation of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And the aggressor should feel fully a true force of the international law which he brutally violated. And we are absolutely sure in our good perspective. And we also have to draw the conclusion out of the experience of how the Budapest Memorandum was respected. And I believe that it is necessary to enforce the security guarantee provided to Ukraine by means of concluding bilateral treaties on our allied countries. And the third issue is the comprehensive assistance to building up a new European Ukraine. The new Ukraine, which was a dream of Georgy Gongadze. Today we commemorate the 16th anniversary of his disappearance. For more than 2 years, we in Ukraine are battling on two fronts, and our victory on the track of the internal reforms are no less significant and important than military victory on the front line. Our main and the most dangerous adversary is the corruption. It has already taken too much time and a great amount of resources which could have been used for the modernization and development of Ukraine. And the fight against corruption is our common responsibility, and it is my absolute priority as a president of Ukraine. And we have laid absolutely new, innovative foundation to fight against corruption, and we already tested it in practice, and every citizen can feel being a part of the process. Now, nobody is hiding. Everything is open and in a transparent manner. And my wish is not to rush for the numerous arrests and conviction, but also to establish a system of the zero tolerance to corruption. It is a new culture of relation between the government and the society, as well as the wide scope of the effective instrument. For the years, public tender procurement was one of the main sources of the corruption. So-called tender palata, who was concentrated 100 billion of hryvnia of the state and state-owned enterprises' resources, finance the previous power. And now, today, due to ProZorro system, we have already saved these 100 billion budgetary resources on the corruption crimes, from the corruption crimes. For the years, militia and road inspection were the certain symbol of the corruption. Today, due to the new patrol police which were created with the assistance of our American and European friends, our roads is cleansed from the corruption officers and restore the public trust to the new law enforcement institution. For the years, national energy system was a Klondike for corruption. And today, due to the European Union-oriented reforms of Naftogaz, we stopped being eternal bankrupt and starting working in the interest of the consumer and state. And significant anti-corruption effort is also brought by the financial decentralization. I was happy to go to Dnipropetrovsk, Lviv, Odessa, many other cities, and we have 5, 6, 7 times, just for 2 years, increased the money they spend for their own development. They should not go anymore to Kiev. They should not agree with any of Kiev bureaucrats. This is their power, but their responsibility, how to spend dozens of billions of hryvnia because of the decentralization which was initiated by me. Again, this is demonstration of the effectiveness of the reform. A powerful anti-corruption potential is put into the electronic income declaration system. It was a lot of the discussion about the launching, the process of the electronic declaration. Now we launch it. We launched it from the 1st of September, and we don't give up any chance to ruin this system. This is our efforts to demonstrate the transparency and responsibility. No matter you are member of government, member of parliament, or anybody else. We think that the very important step is judicial system. It is a last bastion for corruption. And I want to thank the parliament and political forces who support my proposal to the constitutional changes on the constitutional reform. We have done this constitutional reform in the parliament, and right now, on the 30th of September, the new constitution comes in force, and we're launching the enormous process. We will not eliminate the corruption in Ukraine till we clean the court from the corrupted judge and from those who are guided not by spirit of Themis, the goddess of justice, but the spirit of the silver coins. And I believe that the constitutional amendments of judiciary, we will establish the new independent High Court of Justice and will make a Ukrainian judiciary much more healthy. Can you imagine that the 200 new, clean, professional judges at the same time will appear in the Supreme Court of Ukraine? And we remove all the previous High Court. And when we're talking with our American, British, or European colleagues, I was happy that we will have a very fruitful cooperation, both on the testing of the new candidate, both of the anti-corruption procedure, on the training process for creation the new court. Really, it is unlikely that any other country will dare to reload fully the high judicial level in such a short period of time as half a year. And it is very important that our assessment of the progress and the strategic to fight the corruption are shared and supported by our international partners. And it is acknowledgement, by the way, it is very strongly connected with the today Yalta conference, that the day before yesterday decision of the board of the International Monetary Fund for giving up the tranche on the 14th of September regarding the continuation of the program of cooperation with Ukraine and the allocation of the additional volume of financial assistance. This is the international quality standard and the recognition of the effective work of the Ukrainian authorities on the path of the reform. Beforehand and now, this is a green light for the investor to come to Ukraine. we are successfully cooperating with the IMF, and this is the firm evidence of them. And also this is the message into Ukrainian society that international community trust Ukraine, stand shoulder to shoulder with us and support on the way of the important transformation and macroeconomic growth in this difficult time. Because each billion, it is a new working places, new opportunities for the socio-economic growth, and I hope soon in the European Union they will be also say that their word in support of Ukraine after we vote in the regulator law in our parliament. The macro financial assistance from the European Union will appear within the next days or weeks. I think this is a very important that the association agreement is overdue for ratification. This is very important that visa liberalization, which Ukraine has earned by the right and justice. I just want to remind that we implemented 144 visa liberalization criteria. We have a report of the assessment mission. I want to thank the representative of the European Commission for the legislative proposal they introduced, and I hope that at the beginning of October, the European Parliament will vote, and then we have a decision of European Council. This decision to grant visa-free regime to Ukraine is not only the confirmation of the prevalence of the common values over the mercantile interest, but also as an element of the peaceful settlement in Donbass and deoccupying Crimea. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we count on the continuous, sincere, and committed support for our partners and our efforts toward achieving peace and comprehensive transformation. I would like to emphasize that our Unity and Resolve Act are the only rescue mode in the face of the storm of changes. And we have to protect selflessly the vital truth, aspiration to live in peace and safely, to respect common democratic values, and to pave the way of a progressive development and modernization. Our peaceful future depends on the genuine leadership, hard but necessary decision, our solidarity, respect, and mutual support. And this is not an answer to the question what we Europeans want. This is the answer to the question who we are. And I wish you, Victor, and all the participants fruitful discussion. And here in Yalta conference, which also play a very important role for our moving to Europe. Good luck to the Yalta conference, and thank you for your attention, and glory to Ukraine.